Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Tina Jha, you're watching Perspective. India's semiconductor design ecosystem is getting stronger day by day, powered by government interventions like the Design-Linked Incentive Scheme and the Chips to Startup program. As the country aspires to become a global hub for chip design and innovation, homegrown startups have begun to make their mark. In a significant development, Netrasemi, a startup supported under the government's chip design scheme, has received venture capital investment of 107 crore rupees. The company is working on making chips for smart vision, CCTV cameras and Internet of Things applications. Welcoming the development, Union Minister for Electronics and IT, Ashwini Vaishnaw said, and I quote, "India has significant design capabilities with Indian Semiconductor Mission supporting design in India. The success of Netrasemi will encourage other Indian startups as well." To discuss this milestone and what it means for the future of India's semiconductor landscape, we are joined by Mr. Jyotish Indrabhai, CEO and co-founder, Netrasemi Private Limited, and Professor Abhishek Dikshit, Chair Professor at the Department of Electrical Engineering, IIT Delhi. Professor Dikshit also plays a critical role in shaping India's academic contribution to semiconductor research and innovation. Thank you, Mr. Indrabhai and Professor Dikshit, for joining us on the program. Welcome to Sansad TV. Mr. Indrabhai, congratulations first on securing the 107 crore funding in venture capital funding. To begin with, tell us and our viewers, what does this milestone mean for Netrasemi, especially at this stage of your journey?
Definitely. First of all, thank you very much, Tina, for having me here, and thank you, Professor Dikshit, for joining this call. First of all, this means a lot for Netrasemi. We have just closed a 107 crore Series A funding from both Soho and Unicorn Ventures. So so far we have been working on R&D phase, where we are working hard on building these chips and making them proven for the manufacturing process. Now we are getting into the second phase of our startup, where we are going to commercialize it, prototype multiple times, make it production ready, and go to full mass production. So that means both the commercialization, acquiring customers, then partnering with multiple partners to make sure that these chips are useful for the market. That is our next key challenge. And this fund will definitely help us to move in that path very faster. And for Netrasemi, we have been working for this activity for the last 5 years. And our team is working hard to build these chips. And now we are all excited to get these chips manufactured in the foundry. We are getting it manufactured in TSMC foundry. And the actual chip realization journey is the next biggest exciting journey for us. And this funding will definitely help us to move in that path.
Absolutely. So you've set your priorities clearly on how do you plan to spend this money. But let me also ask you a related question on how the government schemes, particularly the DLI, the C2S scheme, have helped you, or how have they helped in enabling this fundraising? After that, I'll go to Professor Dikshit for his perspective.
Definitely. So before answering that question, let me tell you the scenario. Semiconductor, especially the chips of complexity, they require a lot of capital investment. And investment raising has always been a challenge for startups. There are two aspects of it. One is the pure design activity needs money. And then EDA tools, the electronic design automation tools, they are extremely expensive. And manufacturing process itself is an extremely expensive affair. So if you talk about when Netrasemi started, it was extremely difficult to raise funding or even mobilize money for this R&D activity. So that is a problem the last ministry solved by having this DLI and C2S programs in place. This enables startups with significant finance support in the form of refunds and other things, and also good amount of EDA tool support, the design automation tool support, which is extremely expensive for this sector. So those are the two important problems the DLI program solved. And through C2S program, they kind of enabled a kind of academia industry partnership and training multiple or large number of skilled workforce in the country. So those two programs were critical, and fortunately for Netrasemi, we were beneficiary of both the programs, and we got chance to work on those two programs and make use of it. So that way, those two programs help Netrasemi in a big way, and that is kind of one important aspect of us getting in this stage.
Sure. Let me go across to Professor Dixit now for his views. Professor, from an academic and also from a policy standpoint, if we try and understand, how significant is this development for India's semiconductor design ambitions?
So indeed, what Jyotish Bhai said is very relevant. So I think the government schemes, which kind of started along the same time as the India Semiconductor Mission. So design-linked incentives, which is kind of a reimbursement to some extent towards your expenses in designing the chip, as well as the C2S, the chip to system scheme. These are very, very useful. They are actually key initiatives which allow our fabless chip design startups to actually make progress. And this is a very significant milestone. So these schemes have been running for few years now. So it's about the time that we are starting to see the results. I'm aware of many startups who are beneficiaries and are doing extremely well in this space. So the idea here is that you get the support from the government for the, like Jyotish Bhai said, these design tools licenses for corporate entities can be very, very expensive. For us in academics, they are, far cheaper. But for commercial entities, these licenses are fairly expensive, and without government support, a startup will find it very hard to actually access all the design tools. So that to that extent, I think the C2S program is highly valuable. It gives you that platform to start your chip design work. And of course, as I said, DLI incentive is also there, which is kind of reimbursing parts of your expenses. So both together, I think they tremendously help the ecosystem, especially on the fabless chip design side. India, we have had expertise in chip design, but it was largely contained in the sort of satellite groups of MNCs. I think it is last two to 3 years time only that we start seeing the product companies from India like Netrasemi and others who are actually a brand in themselves, and they will sell their own products, which are of course going to be a big feathers in the cap for our Make in India scheme as well. So I hope and I anticipate that these products will be fairly successful and they will make a global name for not just the companies, but also for India. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Indrabhai, I'll come back to you since you've already listed out how or what your short-term and long-term priorities will be in utilizing this investment that you've raised. But the next question is about how or what kind of specific technologies or applications is Netrasemi targeting with its chip designs? How do you plan to stay ahead? Because it's a highly competitive field as well. So tell us about what makes your solutions differentiated from the others, the existing ones in the market, and at the same time, how do you plan to stay ahead in this very, very competitive field?
Sure. First of all, we are actually in a field called Edge AI, which is IoT with AI capabilities, right? So that is the domain we are, and we are building chips for that domain, and especially targeting devices and devices with the AI capabilities for doing analysis of video and sensor data on the device itself. So these chips will enable platforms which will make devices intelligent and able to do AI processing on device and on premise. So that is the area where we are working on. This is an extremely exciting domain where a lot of processing is happening today in servers and cloud. So moving to edge is bringing a lot of advantage, and the industry is going in that path, and we are at the right time developing these chips. So that way, it is an extremely important domain, and there are a lot of use cases associated with. And the use cases we are targeting are related to surveillance, CCTV, robotics, and those kind of applications where the sensor processing on the device is extremely critical, and real-time response is extremely important. And coming to our chips, we are not just building one chip. We are actually enabling, in the current tape-out phase, we are taping out two chips. One is a application processor chip and also a microcontroller family chip. Both are AI capable, using Netrasemi's own intellectual property IP cores. So that is the main differentiator we have against many of the other chip makers. And these chips will be commercialized in the next 2026. And we are building one more. Our next high performance chip is also in the R&D phase. So these are the programs we are anticipating to get commercialized in the next 1 or 2 years, and this funding is going to definitely help us in that path. And as I mentioned, the IP or intellectual property is the main key differentiator for us. And we see, as you rightly pointed out, it's an extremely competitive market. But we are not focusing a general purpose computing. We are focused on domain specific applications and make our chips extremely efficient for that domain needs. That is how we want to address this space.
Right. It's an exciting domain, as you said, with a lot of potential, but at the same time, several challenges. We will discuss them and how you're navigating them as well. But Professor, how do you see academic research contributing to the kind of real world innovation that is taking place, and especially how we are seeing the homemade startups making a mark in that area, startups like Netrasemi?
Yeah. So, see, there has been worldwide, there has been a differentiation between the academic research and what is at the product level in the industry. So typically the academic research will sort of run 5 to 10 years ahead of what is of commercial interest today. So what, for instance, Netrasemi is doing, edge devices, edge computing, this has been in academic research, I would say, half a decade to a decade ago. That is where the edge computing came in, right? And so academic research, there has been lots of patents and publications that people have done to enable the basic concepts in this area. Of course, now the startups and the industry is actually picking it up and turning it into product. If you talk about what academic research is doing currently, so some of our startups, campus startups from IIT Delhi, are working in areas, deep tech areas such as quantum computing, right? Or chips which are required for extreme environments, such as a very high temperature environment or a very low temperature environment, a radiation heavy environment. So those kind of advanced technologies is where the academic research is currently active. But with that, I would say that we always have the backwards knowledge. So what we have done 5 years ago or 10 years ago, we have the complete knowledge base of that. And we are always ready and available to help industry, our own startups, other startups in India. So that way, the academics will always be there to help wherever it's needed, right?
So while we are seeing that there are lots of projects which are currently underway, and of course it's the result, the kind of development that we are discussing is the result of that kind of collaboration that is taking place. But Professor, are we seeing enough collaboration between academia and industry in chip design specifically? What more, according to you, can be done in order to build a self-sustaining design ecosystem in the country?
Oh, yes. So there is a lot of collaboration happening. A lot of our academics, faculty colleagues, they are on boards advising various startups, right? So pretty much every startup is somehow connected to academic unit in one place or the other. We have so many good institutions of higher education across India. So I think the ecosystem is going to further improve as we have the venture capitalists and so on. The funding is the, so there are two big issues in my, three big issues in my list. So number one is, of course, raising funds, as Jyotish Bhai also said. This kind of advanced or deep tech areas, VCs typically find it too risky to fund in India, at least. So it is very hard for a startup to raise that initial, seed fund, right? Second thing is, to work in this area, you require, significant capital, right? So small angel investment kind of thing, a few tens of lakhs will not actually take you anywhere. So making that funding available to the startups is a key enabler. Government has done things like DLI and C2S, but I think more is needed, towards making the VCs. And now we are talking about the AIFs and so on being supported by ANRF from the Department of Science and Technology, with a large fund that the government has planned for next 6 years, something like 1 lakh crore rupees. That's the kind of fund we actually require access to sort of support the booming startup system we have. And the third thing on my list is, of course, the manpower, right? So although we say we are a very large country churning out so many engineers, when you as a startup go out in market to recruit people, the top-notch technical people do not yet want to go to a startup. They would still want to go to a big corporate with very sort of stable hiring and retention pattern, and so they also find startups a bit risky in that sense. So that mindset needs to change. When a student graduates from a IIT with a top level score, I think the first place they should be looking at is the the cutting edge startup, rather than a company which has been in business for 30-40 years and you take up some managerial position. That needs to change. And just the last thing on my list here is access to advanced technology. So like Jyotish Bhai said, and all of us do this, we are always relying on foundries abroad to fabricate our chips, right? There are now units from Micron as well as Tata, but I would like to see one day that there is a foundry in India which is catering to the needs of Indian companies, right? So that's something which is still we need to achieve that.
Certainly, multiple aspects, Mr. Indra Bhai, that Professor Dixit has raised. I would like to pick two. One relates to the talent, and the other is about the access to technology. So the first question about talent and the ecosystem. What kind of talent, if I may try and understand from you, is Netrasemi hiring currently? Also, how do you see India's semiconductor design talent pool evolving? Certainly, it is in a stage which is evolving very, very fast. And the second part to the question is on access to EDA tools and prototyping infrastructure, which for long has been a big challenge, especially for the startups. So if you could give us a sense of how Netrasemi has been navigating this particular challenge, what more support is required to perhaps better navigate that challenge?
So as Professor Dixit said, talent is a major problem for startups, especially because there are many MNCs here, multinational companies here. So the talent always have a tendency to go to those companies looking at the first paycheck, right? The first paycheck is a kind of major concern for startups, because startups offers a huge amount of R&D capabilities to R&D opportunities to the students and the fresh talent. Unlike the MNCs, where you will be working on like 10th generation or 12th generation chips, where the amount of R&D you can contribute is extremely less. Whereas startups offers the first generation chip, which is you are building something from nowhere. So that's a huge opportunity for the students to join startups, right? That is, I mean, they if they spend first 5 years in startups, they get huge amount of opportunities, right? That is the biggest advantage, because I myself worked for first 7 to 8 years in startups before going to Intel and other companies, right? So that enabled a lot. I mean, that created a lot of confidence and also the R&D capabilities in in me. So I advise even the student community to make use of startup ecosystem to learn things and grow your career, especially in the early days. And now coming back to how Netrasemi is doing, we are finding there are some gaps in academic system today, right? That we are not focusing on application engineering, we are not focusing on product engineering in the academy. So that is a big issue. Almost 90% of the universities focus on regular and old curriculum, right? Which needs to change. And startups today, or like startups like us, we focus on raw talent. We take them, we invest on them, and make them ready for our roadmap, right? So that's what we are doing, and that is an inevitable hard journey the startups need to take. Instead of competing with the MNCs, you have to have your own unique plan, right? Like make use of the local talent you have, train them, invest on them, give them shares, make them part of your equity shareholding. So, I mean, you have to find a way to attract talent, because otherwise you cannot run your company, right? That is the reality. So now coming back to the government's role, right? I mean, in fact, I'm amazed by the kind of vision the C2S program is bringing, right? A vision of bringing 85,000 semiconductor engineers out of universities in 5 years' time. So this is a huge mission, and what government has done is they have invested in a large number of universities, give them tools free of cost. I mean, these are the kind of tools, EDA tools, which goes for multiple crores of rupees, and many universities are getting this free of cost today. I mean, even I am my own college, but my own College of Engineering, they get all these tools free of cost, right? Because they are part of the C2S program. So this is a great opportunity for students. And only thing is that infrastructure should be rightly used by all the students, and the professors should consider it as one of the greatest opportunity for them. Use that as for developing IPs in universities. So using these tools, several IPs, intellectual property course, can be built in colleges, and that is how you have to work on the real problem. These tools should not be used for training purpose. So these are the type of the government has invested a huge amount of money and investment on these activities, but universities need to come and even startups need to make use of this talent pool and even attach to the academia and make use of this the C2S program.
Certainly, and especially when Professor Dikshit, the ambition is to make India a global semiconductor hub. There are significant efforts that have been put in place over the last few years, the result of which we've begun to see something that we are discussing today, one of the key developments. But we need to plug these gaps, something that Mr. Indrabhai also referred to, in terms of, say, bridging the skill gap or the kind of expertise which may be required for that. So if I may ask you, what role are the IITs in the country, which are the premier institutions, and other technical institutions countrywide also play in bridging the skill gaps and incubating the semiconductor startups?
So I think IITs, as I know, and many other technical institutions also, they are also very active since the India Semiconductor Mission started. So we are continuously rolling out new curriculums, new degree programs, new certificate. So there's a lot of, since COVID, we have started doing a lot of, online certificates and diploma programs, which are really targeted to a particular product or application area. So there are many IITs across the country currently, which are actually offering, very specific and compact programs on, let's say, semiconductor chip design and packaging and things like that. So things are moving in the right direction. I think one place where we may again have to do some more effort is, see, we can always do online teaching, and we can, in one certificate or diploma course, we can engage with thousands of students. But when it comes to having them run these design tools or performing experiments, basically the lab part, right? The question is, even even in presence of C2S, you still have no way of giving access to those thousands of online students a taste of what it is actually like to run a design tool on their computer. So it is the lab part, which is where we have to think about sort of, more out of box and try to see how we can train such a large number of students and participants, in one go, right? That is what is actually required. I do envision things like mega labs. So you have a lab with like 4,000, 5,000, distributed terminals, all having the C2S kind of access. Then they can, at least the online students can do assignments and small projects and things like that.
Right.
That's possibility for hands-on training. Otherwise, in absence of that, what Jyotish Bhai said is basically what all these startups and even to some extent the multinational companies also do. You will never get a person who is 100% trained to your requirement. You will always have to bring in a person, give them some required on-job training, and only then they become useful to you. The whole challenge is to really cut short that time. So if I hire a student from a campus, do I have to train him for 3 months or 6 months or 1 year before that person is useful? The shorter the time is, the better is my available talent pool. I think that's how we should look at it.
Mr. Indrabhai, so Professor Dikshit has laid out how the road ahead should be like, but what are your thoughts on if India wants to become a true global hub for semiconductors, something that we've envisioned for ourselves, in addition to bridging the skill gaps and the right kind of talent acquisition, at the same time strengthening the infrastructure, what's something else, the one thing that you think that we are perhaps missing out on the discussion today that we need to get absolutely right over the next 5 years to achieve that vision?
Indian government is doing almost all the things which are needed for developing this system. They are putting focus on both fab and fabless system, right? Fab, of course, is by investing on new foundries and all those things. That is happening, and it's very amazing that a lot of companies are coming forward and investing money on that aspect. And it is extremely important strategically also, right? Having fab and foundries or SATs are extremely important for India. But fabless is an extremely critical element for us to build Indian owned chips, right? Fabless is there is a lot of advantage for India. India is a design nation, right? If you look around, Intels or Qualcomms or the big names there, a significant number of design engineers are from India, right? I personally am from Intel, and I work for many other big companies. But I see I see my colleagues, most of them are Indians, right? So that means this country, if we choose to, we can grow this design talent a lot. But today, what is happening is many of them are going to either service companies or going to MNCs. So they are not really contributing towards Indian chip, right? So that is the reality, and that is the reality so far.
Professor, I'll take one concluding remark from you as well. And since we are talking about what our immediate priorities should be towards reaching or achieving our ambition of becoming a global semiconductor hub, what according to you should be our next big priority, especially in context of India's semiconductor mission? Should it be fab capacity? Should it be design depth? Or should we put in more efforts towards global collaboration?
I think if I have to summarize this, I think all the 3 points you mentioned, right? The global collaborations, the design depth, the fab capacity. I think all of these together form, the complete ecosystem which a lot of developed nations have. But I would also like to, touch upon what Jyotish Bhai just said. See, the most important thing, if you see, is really the product, right? So that way, even if you are running a commercial foundry, just like Taiwan, TSMC, and many other foundries are running, you are supplying, you are catering to the world, you are bringing a lot of, foreign dollars into your country. But that leadership of the market will always be with someone like Apple, who has really the product that everyone sees. So from that point of view, I would say the product companies are the most important ones. I would not just stop at the chip. I would talk about systems. So we have to talk about the system integration and system business. So that's something we are also doing alongside ISM. So there is a big effort ongoing in system technologies and system integration, which will kind of combine chip design, chip manufacturing, chip packaging, testing. So all kind of 10 to 12 areas. This is our one big proposal, which is kind of a pan-India proposal, which is already with ISM currently, and couple of Indian government agencies are actually looking into it. So we hope, soon we will be able to, roll out this proposal, and you will see that we now are talking about a complete ecosystem, be it in the area of high performance computing and AI, or electric vehicles, or sensors, or in the area of, for instance, the other important technologies. So we are now looking at the application oriented big segments, and all the technologies, not just the chip manufacturing, not just the chip design, all the technologies that are required to make that system. I think it is the system which is where you need the leadership. Rest everything will follow.
Absolutely. And if that happens, perhaps we should be able to achieve that vision of becoming a Viksit Bharat, and that will happen only when India also becomes a semiconductor hub globally. It's something that Prime Minister Modi has often spoken about. And even now, in context of the startups attracting significant investment, the Prime Minister did mention that in the spirit of becoming a product nation, the government is doing all it can. It's encouraging young companies especially to take bold steps in chip design, because private investors have now become a lot more keen than in the past. They're helping them grow, and Netrasemi is a classic example of that kind of effort that has been put in place. It's just that other startups must also be inspired by this kind of support, and they should get into this transformational mode, something that the Prime Minister and this government has stressed upon in recent times. Time allows me to take up only that much on the program today. Thank you once again, both to Professor Dikshit and Mr. Indra Bhai, for joining us on the program today, sharing your thoughts, your views with us and our viewers. And to you viewers, thank you very much for your time as well.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.